Okay, today we're going to be making a super rich and decadent, yet simple and easy to make chocolate sheet cake. This chocolate sheet cake is made up of a moist, tender chocolate cake that's full of chocolate flavor, topped with a super easy, yet rich and decadent chocolate fudge frosting. You guys are going to absolutely love this one. So to start off, you want to preheat your oven to 180°C or 350°F conventional. Just remember to lower the temperature if you're using a convection oven with a fan, and lightly grease the bottom and sides of a 9 by 13 inch cake pan. And then you also want to line the pan long ways with some parchment paper. It's best to leave some of the parchment paper hanging over the sides. It just makes it a lot easier to take the cake out once it's done. Now you just want to pop your cake tin aside for now, and next we're going to sift together 210 grams or 1 3/4 cups of plain all-purpose flour, 75 grams or 3/4 cup of cocoa powder. I would recommend using a Dutch processed cocoa powder if you can. It just gives you a stronger and smoother chocolate flavor. And then you also want to add in 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1 teaspoon of salt. And then using a whisk or fork, give that a good mix until it's well combined and set it aside for now. Next, in a large mixing bowl, you want to add in 200 grams or 1 cup of soft light brown sugar, 200 grams or 1 cup of white granulated sugar, 56 grams or 1/4 cup of melted unsalted butter, 105 grams or 1/2 cup of unflavored vegetable oil, I use canola oil, 180 grams or 3/4 cup of room temperature milk, you want to use whole milk, 2 large room temperature eggs, and 2.5 teaspoons of vanilla. And using a whisk, give that a good mix until it's well combined. Now next you want to add in your pre-sifted dry ingredients from earlier to the wet batter, and then you just want to mix that in with your whisk until just combined. You don't want to overmix, so just mix until you can't see any more streaks of the dry ingredients running through the batter and the mixture is relatively smooth. Now to finish off the batter, you want to add in 180 grams or 3/4 cup of strong coffee, hot coffee. So you can use espresso for this or instant coffee powder too, which is what I'm going to be using. So I'm just going to add 1 tablespoon of instant coffee powder to 180 grams or 3/4 cup of hot water. Give that a mix and then add that to my batter. And then again, using a whisk, mix that in until well combined. So you don't want to overmix it, but you do want to make sure that the batter is nice and smooth and evenly mixed. So that is our batter all done. So easy, and it smells incredible. And now you just want to evenly distribute this into our pre-prepared cake tin from earlier. Once that's done, just drop the cake tin lightly on the counter to remove any large air bubbles. And now this is going to go into the oven for 27 minutes or until a toothpick inserted into the center comes out clean or with a few moist crumbs on it. So my cake is all done now. It has such a deep, rich color to it. It's been cooling in the tin for about 20 minutes just to allow it to firm up a little. And now I'm just running a thin knife along the edges that don't have any parchment paper, just to release the cake from the cake tin. And then I'm carefully turning it out onto a wire rack to completely cool. Now, if you take a closer look, you can see just how incredibly soft and moist this chocolate cake is. Now, while this cake is cooling, we're gonna go ahead and make our easy chocolate fudge frosting. So you want to place a saucepan over a low to medium heat and add in 113 grams or 1/2 cup of unsalted butter and let that melt away, keeping a careful eye on it to make sure that the butter doesn't burn. Now once it's all melted and starts to gently bubble, you want to add in 66 grams or 2/3 cups of cocoa powder. Again, I do recommend using Dutch processed cocoa powder if you can, and then you just want to mix that in until it's well combined. This is going to help bloom the cocoa powder and release more of its flavor. So once combined, just mix for about another 10 seconds or so. Make sure the heat isn't too high, otherwise you're going to burn the cocoa. And then you want to take the saucepan off the heat and put the butter cocoa mixture into a large heat-proof bowl. Now to that, you want to add in 315 grams or 2.5 cups of powdered sugar, 80 grams or a third cup of room temperature milk, 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla, and 1/8 teaspoon of salt. And then using a hand or stand mixer, first mix on a low speed just to allow everything to combine, and then turn up the speed to a medium-high and whip for anywhere between kind of 2.5 to 5 minutes. The temperature, of the country that you're staying in and a few other little factors will kind of determine how long you need to mix. So just kind of keep an eye on it and see how you go. So you just want to mix until the frosting thickens up and is a smooth, spreadable consistency, but it will still be a tiny bit loose. So the frosting should be thick like this, and once you stop mixing it, it should move kind of just a little bit, but after a few seconds it should stop and hold its shape. And then that is our chocolate fudge frosting all done. It is honestly so ridiculously good. So once the cake is done cooling, you want to turn it out onto your serving plate. I'm just using a large tray today, and you want to place the tray or serving plate on top of the cake and then hold the wire rack and tray together and flip the cake over. Now you just want to put all of that chocolate fudge frosting on top and spread it out with an offset spatula, or the back of a tablespoon will do the trick as well. Now you can go ahead and decorate the top however you like, but that is my chocolate sheet cake all done. This cake is so rich and just full of chocolate flavor. It tastes like the type of cake that's complicated to make, but it really isn't. The cake is so moist, and that rich chocolate fudge frosting just honestly takes it to another level. It is so decadent and just like rich and full of chocolate flavor, and that chocolate cake layer is just so soft and moist. And two things that I love about this cake is, although it's kind of super decadent and rich, it's not overly sweet, and it's also not too heavy. So it's got a nice denseness to it, which you want in a chocolate cake, but because the cake layers are so nice and soft, it's still, relatively light to eat. So yeah, if you're a chocolate cake lover, you absolutely have to give this chocolate sheet cake a go. So that is it for today, guys. If you do decide to give this cake a go, then please do leave a review on my blog. It really helps my content out, and I absolutely love hearing from you guys. I'll see you in the next video.